Welcome back. Up to this point, we've played around with some JavaScript types. Only 3 out of 7. Don't worry, we'll get to the rest of them. But there's one problem. How does a program remember things? For example, if we write these pretzels are making me thirsty, and we'll do this, plus we need the exclamation. Okay. I enter that. Okay, I get that. That's good. But if I need to use this again, well, again, I have to write these pretzels are making me thirsty. And imagine you had to do that hundreds of times. That's kind of annoying, right? Computers are supposed to help us, but instead we just keep writing stuff. And that's not very efficient, is it? Well, to catch and hold values, JavaScript has something called variables. And variables can be used with the word var. So now if I go var George, so var is for variable, equals these pretzels are making me thirsty, plus exclamation mark. Notice the semicolon here. I'll explain what that does in a bit. I press enter. I get undefined. Let's not worry about that. That doesn't matter for now. And now if I go George, and you'll see that Google Chrome actually helps me and recognizes it. I press enter. These pretzels are making me thirsty. How awesome is that? So we're able to store this value. And obviously this is simple, but imagine this was a long calculation that we had to make. And we want to access it. Well, all we need to do now is have George. It's a variable. So now you see in the last video when I said that when we're comparing things, we have to use 3 equals. Well, because when you do 3 equals 3, it's saying assign the number 3 to 3. But there's a rule with variables. With variables, you can't start with numbers. So if I go variable 3 equals 3, I'll get an error. But if I go variable 3 equals 3, well, that's no problem. And variables have a few rules. The rules are, well, it needs to start with a letter. It can end with a number, that's fine. But it needs to start with a letter. And it can't start with a symbol. So I can't do var and sign hello equals 5. Nope, I'll get an error. So a variable needs to start with a letter, can end in a number, that's fine. And there's a few other special cases. A variable can also start with a $sign or an underscore. But we don't need to worry about that too much. And the standard in JavaScript, so you won't get an error if this happens, but you do something called camel case. So if it was a word, let's say first name, you would do camel case. Because these are 2 separate words, you do lowercase, the first word. Second word is going to have uppercase. So first name. So you capitalize the first letter, and that's called camel case. So still not getting what variables are? Well, I'm gonna demonstrate this point further and why we need to store values in a programming language. I'm gonna introduce you to a little cool trick called prompt. And prompt, when I use these brackets and I press enter, look at that. I got something here. And it's asking for something, and I press OK, and look at that. It returns whatever I typed. Let's try that again. If I go prompt, press enter, and I say hello, press OK, I get that response back. Okay, so how can we say something like, what's your username? And store that value. That's something that we use quite a lot on websites, right? Well, with prompt, you can do prompt opening and closing bracket. And then here, we'll say, what is your username? So we're entering a string here. And if I press enter, okay, so it says, what is your username? So now if I type in my username is Andre, I get the username. So using that knowledge, let's make a calculator. Let's do var first equals prompt enter first number. And then I'm going to press shift here so that I can add a new line. So shift enter, and I'm going to say variable second equals prompt enter second number. And now, if I press enter, I'll get enter first number. I'll say 5, press OK, then enter second number. I say 10 and press OK. Okay, but now I got undefined. But here's the cool thing. Now I have these values held in these variables. So I can use them. If I check first, I have 5. If I check second, I have 10. But you'll notice that I have double quotes around them. And that's because prompt automatically changes it to string. It's expecting a form of text. So there's a cool trick to change a string into a number. And all we need to do, and this is just syntax we need to remember, is number, and then we'll do first, and that will give us 5. So all we need to do now is do number first plus number second, and we'll get the sum of these two. But again, we can use a variable here. I don't want to keep typing this. So what if I do variable sum equals number first plus number second, semicolon, press enter. Nothing yet because it's in the sum now. So if I ask for sum, I get 15. Okay, so let's write our first program here. I'm going to show you one other cool trick, and that is alert. So instead of prompt, we're going to use alert. And alert, what it does is, it says hi there. And if I press enter, I get a pop-up, but without anything to enter, just an OK button. So using this, we can create a calculator. So let's do this. And in Chrome, if you actually press the up arrow, it'll remember your history and you can pull up whatever you've typed in. So you remember here we have first, second, so those are the two prompts. And then I'm going to say variable sum equals number, the first, plus number of the second. And finally, again, I do shift enter so that the code doesn't get executed. And I do alert sum. So just looking at this, what do you think is going to happen? I first ask for a prompt and I store that value in first. The second prompt asks for a second number, stores it in the second. The sum calculates the two numbers, and then I alert the sum. I'm going to press enter and see what happens. Enter first number, I'm going to say 15. Okay. Next number, I'm going to say 20. Okay. And look at that. I got 35 as the answer. And again, knowing what we know about strings and numbers, I can now do, again, I pressed up to have exactly what I wrote back. Now I can say within the alert, the sum is, close the bracket, plus sum. So let's see that. If I press enter, I'll go 3, plus 4. The sum is 7. Look at that. Our first program. Variables can hold any JavaScript type. Think of them as little drawers in your desk. So in your desk, you can open up that drawer and put anything you want in there. Your pens, paper, erasers, calculators, and you can close that drawer, and whenever you need a pen or a calculator, you can open that drawer and grab it. And that's what variables are. Now, the one thing that I've kind of omitted and I haven't told you about is this little weird semicolon here. Why do we need it? I mean, we were able to do 3 plus 4, and we didn't see a semicolon. Well, in JavaScript, semicolon means the end of an expression. So what does that mean? A fragment of code that produces a value is called an expression. So any value that's written really is an expression. So if I do 3, well, that's an expression. It produces a value. 3 plus 4 is an expression. In JavaScript, the rule is, and then there are some people actually that don't use semicolons anymore, but the way it was built and the way that it's intended to work is to do 3 plus 4, add a semicolon. Most of the time, if you forget, it'll still work. There's only small cases where it'll break your program, but just to form good habits for now, at the end of each expression, so that is anything we've done so far, add a semicolon, and you'll get used to it. Okay, let's keep going with variables, because they're very interesting. What if I do variable a equals true? Because remember, variables can hold anything. So variables can hold booleans, and variables can hold strings, and variables can hold numbers, as we've seen. So we're just going to hold variable a equals true. But now, what if I can access a, but what if I say a equals hello? What do you think will happen if I press A and then enter? Well, I get hello. Because you can reassign a value to A. Because initially, the program thought A equals to true. But then we said, well, A equals hello now. So it discarded the true value, and now A is equal to hello. And we've completely forgotten about true. Okay, another little trick. What happens if I go like this? Does that work, or will I get an error? Let's see. Okay, undefined. I didn't get that red bar. No error. Okay. What if I access the A? Let's see what happens. Well, hello was assigned the last bar, so let's do a different variable. So if I do variable B, which we haven't used before, and I do this, let's see if we can access it. Undefined. B is undefined. And you may have noticed this before, but undefined is our fourth type in JavaScript. And I know it's weird because you're asking yourself, what is undefined? And well, undefined is just one thing in JavaScript. As the name suggests, this means that the variable has not been assigned. So think of it as you'll get undefined if variable password is like this. So if a user doesn't put in a password, well, you'll get undefined. And you'll be able to say, well, password is undefined. You need to enter a password. Or maybe a form requires an email address. Well, if email is undefined, then you can't sign them up to the form. So undefined is used when nothing is assigned to a variable. So remember this, just like you can move stuff out of the drawer in your desk and put something else in, variables can be assigned to different things. I can move my pen from one drawer to another. I can change things in that drawer. And if there's nothing in that drawer, well, it's undefined. Okay. That's a very, very big concept in JavaScript. Hopefully you understand. I have a few exercises for you at the end of this video. I know you can do it. Good luck, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.